Okay, here we go, guys. Let's get started. So on this board, we have how God emanates the creation. Yeah, from the, okay, so it starts with the 10 spheros, which are all united in the world of Atzilus, but we have them here kind of spread out. So maybe we'll just put them down here. Sorry, my artists. Okay.
Are you erasing her son?
Yeah, it looks like the sun, but that's also a little problematic considering the sun's only down here. So. Anyway, here the 10 spheros are united, and then in the world of emanation, the 10 spheros, then the 10 spheros spread out. We're a little out of ink here. Okay. Now Hashem shines his light into creation. It's unified light. It's absolutely one. Then it switches into 10, where there's a holographic reality to it because everything is within everything within everything. Who was in yesterday's class and heard about everything within everything within everything? Okay? Everything's within everything within everything. It's holographic. Okay? It's alocational. Everything's there. So, for example, if you have a river right here, so that river, every molecule of water in that river has a one-to-one relationship with these water beings in formation. Formation has its own level of spiritual water. There's spiritual water in the world of formation, in Yetzirah. However, if the river is going by a meadow, meaning there's a meadow with a river going down it, and there's a deer on the side, so there's going to be a spiritual level of water, there's going to be a spiritual level of meadow, and there's going to be a spiritual level of a deer, all in the world of formation. However, in the world of Berea, it's all one and the same. It's all intermingled inside of each other. The deer is the meadow is the water. Okay, they're all together. They're all united. Okay, they're not united, meaning they all have their existence, but they're in what's the word to pull them apart? They're intertwined and they're impossible to inseparable, and we'll call them inseparable in their nature, even though they do exist in their form, just like the beam of the 10 beams. The beam of Chesed, which is the fourth, has it within it all 10. And the beam that's the sixth has in it all 10. And inside there are all 10, and inside there are all 10. All 10 spheres are constantly holographically complex inside there, but it's under that one theme of Chesed. Okay? Whatever, don't worry, it's going to get much more down to earth soon.
So
yeah.
They keep their singularity per se, but within an existence or a realm that connects them to everything. So like it's like you still have the deer, you still have the stream, but they're connected at the same time.
Yeah, and they're inextricable. You can't extract.
Okay.
You wouldn't be able to extract one from the other. They're so inseparable there, but they still have their nature of existence.
Okay.
It's just that everything is within everything. Whereas down here, you'd actually have a spiritual stream, and that's why you'll see the tangerine here. That's our tangerine today.
Yeah, well, that one was.
It wasn't the one that from yesterday.
We threw.
That's why we have the tangerine down here. See this tangerine? So then you have the spiritual tangerine. See the wings on it? This is the spiritual tangerine. Okay, whereas in the holographic realm, you have what does that say, a slide? You have a holographic plate here that has everything in it. Every millimeter of that plate has the tangerine. So if you cut that plate if you cut most of that plate away and you only left this little part of the plate, it would still project a tangerine, just very low resolution. Okay? Now, can you see the board with the camera? Not so much. Shame we didn't have a darker one. We didn't know we were filming today. Okay. All right, good stuff. Now, the dark side. So the physical world, this entire physical world, is obviously the shade, it's the dark side of that light. Just like we showed yesterday, that when I bring the board to the light, and I put my hand, so you can see that the image of those fingers on the board are because I'm blocking a certain amount of light. But the image itself is also made of the light. Everything's made of the light. That's why if you turn the light off, my fingers would disappear. Okay? So, but when I block the light, there, my fingers, now you can see the image. So we exist, the physical world exists in the absence of light. So your very existence in this room right now is where the light's hidden. So maybe a practical example would be if you wanted to see God. Like some people are like, oh, if I could see God, then I'd be in. You know, if I could just see God, then I'm in. Yeah? If I could see God. But if you could see God, you wouldn't exist. You only exist because you can't see God. So for those of you who wish you could see God, you wouldn't exist if you saw God. You only exist because you can't see God. Is that clear? You only exist because you can't see God. So think of the crazy idea of like, if I could see God, oh, then I'd do all the mitzvahs. No, if you saw God, you wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be a you to do the mitzvahs if you saw God. Your existence requires a great absence or a great veiling of light for you to actually physically have existence. You only exist because of that light being filtered out. Well, what's another term for the absence of light? Darkness. Darkness. And that's what this world's called. This world is called the world of darkness. Olam HaChoshech, the world of darkness. Now, it's not necessarily bad. We usually think of the word dark as negative, but not in this particular case. Darkness doesn't have to be negative. It can get very negative, but it can be very beautiful because it's only in the darkness that the beauty can exist. Because otherwise it's all light. And so there's no such thing as a sunset without darkness, and there's no such thing as beauty or music or anything without some kind of veiling of God's infinite light. Clear? So darkness is not necessarily bad, but it is the world we live in. We live inside the world of what's called klipa. If this world we're living in is the darkness, because it's the veiled light, what do you think our job is?
To spread light.
Yeah, to bring light, to increase light, to spread light. Our job is light. Right? And what does the Torah say the job is for the nation of Israel? Right? To be or la'amim, to be a light unto the nations. We are the light. Okay? You are the light. My brother wrote a song for Osei Shalom. With all of our hearts, we call to you, knowing you'll hear somehow. Like never before, we need you here right now. That wasn't the one. It's the second bridge.
That sounded good.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a second bridge. It goes, we're holding the future in our hands. We can be the light. If only we'd stand as one, it could be so right. Oh, say shalom. Bimroma. Uyase shalom. Aleinu v'yakov Yisrael. Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Sounds like you guys need to hear the song. Spreading the feeling all over the earth, waiting for the day when brothers can walk hand in hand. No one feels afraid. With all of our hearts we call to you, knowing you'll hear somehow. Like never before, we need you here right now. say shalom. Bimroma. Uya say shalom. Aleinu ve'yako Yisrael. Yisrael. V'yimu. Amen. Get ready for a rap after this verse. Tell all the people that share your life, let your love shine through. Make sure to mention from time to time how much they mean to you. We're holding the future in our hands. We can be the light. If only we'd stand as one, it could be so right. Oh, say shalom. Let's go. Bimro, come on. Ya say shalom. Aleinu ve'yako Yisrael. Yisrael. Got some? Ve'yimu. Amen. Here we go. Put it up there for heaven.
Change the world to prove them wrong. Rearrange the stars, attach a soul to the song. Let's right the wrong. Let's show the world that we're strong. Raise your arms, give our words life when I'm gone. Goes on and on. The circle of life is fast but calm. Flows deep within the earth till the pressure is born. Till they forge swords used for war. Until diplomacy fails and countries lock all doors. Fear is our sickness and love is our vaccine. Wisdom are the stitches that keep us in one piece, but we're not complete. Our heart lacks the push to succeed. We're searching the earth for that something I need. Be like fire. Let's light the way. Extinguish the darkness. Chase the fear away. Be like fire. Let's warm the cold. Surrender our souls just to bring the world hope.
Oh, say shalom. Bimro, let's go. Uya say shalom. Together. Aleinu ve'yako Yisrael. Come on, Dylan. Yisrael. Ve'yimeru. Amen. All right. So that's what?
I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
So in this world of darkness, do our souls consist of the light within the darkness? Like
Yeah, our souls are pure light, pure light. But they're masked by the body. Your body is your avatar. The soul is the light. The body is made of physicality, so it's part of the darkness. But the soul is pure light. And that's just to go back, remember this is called practical spirituality. So the practical aspect is that you have 365 darkness things that you're supposed to avoid, and many of those are with the body. And so by avoiding those things, you keep your body out of the way. You see, if you look at Buddhists, for example, okay, Buddhists understand the body's going to be made of darkness and the soul's going to be made of light. So they know that the more you get the body out of the way, the more possibility for the soul to attach itself to pure light. And because they don't have instructions, they didn't get, the Torah means instructions. Because they don't have instructions, they never got a Torah. They don't have a Sinai. And since they don't have instructions, so they just get rid of the body. But we have instructions. We actually have the instruction book, how to deal with the body. You'll notice, look at any tradition, not just Buddhism, any tradition. You'll see anyone who wants to reach higher heights, they will hit some kind of a monastic life. They will turn into monks of some sort where they have to divorce the body in some way. Whereas in Judaism, you can't even reach those heights without being married, without being involved. Once you're married, that means you're having kids. Once you're having kids, now you got to pay for them. Now you got to pay for them. You got to be involved in money. Once you got to be involved in money, that means you're going to have to work, which means you're going to have to be dealing with the physical world, which means you're going to be right here in this physical. And that's to be a holy person, which is really the word holy. meaning our definition of holy. Holy usually means separate. But what is this place called? This is called the Holy Land. Make up your mind. Is it holy or is it land? Land's physicality. Holy is light. It's called the Holy Land because this is where heaven touches earth. That's Israel. And that's the job of the people of Israel, is to show and bring the light to the darkest place. And that's, we were told that the purpose of creation, why God did it, was to create a dira b'tachtonim, to give God a dwelling place in the lower world. Well, if everyone rises up to the Himalayas, fasting and celibate, so does God have a dwelling in the lower worlds? No. Because the lower worlds, what happens is we divorce our lower world, and then we go to the higher world. And this is why men, when they pray, they wear a belt. Have you noticed that a lot of the men wear a belt there? Because they're separating the lower from the upper worlds. Yeah, that's the separation from the lower and the upper worlds. Yeah, and that's you'll notice when Hasidim dance, for example, it's all up here. Everything's like it's up here. Yeah, it's like right. It's all upper, and you'll notice that the dancing of Westerners and everyone else, basically, it's all from here down. It's all belly, hips, and into the legs. When I do concerts and I go into this kind of music, I play every style just to win the crowd over, and then once I got them all relaxed. So it'll be birthright groups, a couple hundred kids, and I'll say like, okay, these next songs are all from like the chest up. Everyone get your hands out. And everyone's like this, And I start playing these Hasidic songs, and they stick with it. They're able to, as long as they keep their hands up, that's the rules. So, anyway, but that's our job is to spread the light and all that. And so that's why we have a Talmud, because the Talmud goes into the minutia, meaning the deepest detail. The sharpest detail of how to extract light from darkness. And a lot of that is again, God created the world to have a dwelling below, which means, as I said, that whole thing till you're in business. Well, so much of the Talmud's business law. And what's it doing? Why do we have all that law? To make sure that you don't step on anybody's toes, because that's not oneness, that's not light. If I'm in business with you and you get hurt, so that's not light. Now we've created darkness, and now God doesn't have a dwelling below. You give us instructions, so now we have an instruction manual, and we got the whole Talmud giving all the laws of how to do business with each other. Now I know if you're not in business and you're trying to learn those laws, that it can be a little tedious, because it's extreme detail on stuff you're not doing. It's not in your life. So therefore I suggest to all of you that if you ever do open up a Talmud, that you study things that are things you're interested in. And then when you finally you start to love the sages and love being in their process, then you can start looking at the tractates that just don't relate to you. Like, for example, all the tractates that have to do with the temple service, and those types of things. But one thing I found very clear is in general, from the modern Orthodox all the way to the secular. So the Talmud is going into all the things, and where's some of the greatest darkness? Some of the greatest darkness is in the selfishness that's caused between man and woman. That's some of the greatest darkness. In fact, there's an entire tractate called Sota, which is just about how to deal with a woman who wasn't faithful. An entire tractate. You can imagine how intense that tractate is. The whole thing's on infidelity. Yeah? Infidelity, it's an intense tractate. But it's how do you deal with the darkness that happens between men and women?
Is there anything about infidelity on the husband's side?
Oh yeah, for sure. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. In fact, the just on that subject alone, I don't know if you know what the soda lady's all about, but nothing even gets off the if the husband wasn't chaste himself, meaning if he wasn't faithful, the whole thing doesn't happen. Meaning that there's no soda lady. If the husband's a good citizen and faithful man, then you have a soda lady. If the husband himself wasn't faithful, then there's no soda lady. Yeah. So, there's plenty about that. Plenty. Anyway, the whole point is to bring the light, but the problem is life down here is dangerous, man. There's so much stuff you can get involved in. I discussed money a little bit. Now we're discussing relationships between people. There's so much pain and suffering that can happen because of human interaction. Maybe we should all just go to monasteries and make it easy. Once in a while, I'll be riding my mountain bike in the hills of Jerusalem or Beit Shemesh, and there's a couple trails that go right by monasteries. And I see all the monks out there, and they're so peaceful looking. They're so peaceful. They're usually playing soccer or something. You know, the monks playing soccer. I just ran into a monk in the Mamila Spa. And I see this giant guy with big locks of hair coming out in the sauna, the wet sauna. And I'm like, what's your name? He says, Theodostias. Theodostias, are you a monk? He says, yeah, I'm a monk. What are you doing in the Mamila Spa, man? Like, this is, how much does it cost to get in here? And it turns out both of us were guests of students. You know, we were both guests of students in the Mamila Spa. Whatever. That's what he was doing in there. But you see these monks, I'll be mountain biking, I'll see these monks. They're so much more peaceful than I am. They're so much in this equanimity and tranquility and all the others that end with ity. And I'm like, boy, I won the wrong lottery, man, because I got a lot on my plate, a lot on my mind. I need a manager to handle everything I'm doing. And whatever, I just don't feel quite as spiritual as these monks. And then, of course, there's all the nuns, you know, and they're all like, I mean, they look like the wind that's blowing over the meadow. You know, they're just so at peace. Maybe we chose the wrong thing. And then I kick myself and want to throw up while I'm riding down the mountain on the other side for even entertaining the thought of such a selfish thing, because God didn't create the world for us to be on glue. God created the world that he would have a dira b'tachtonin, that he would have a dwelling in this world, which means that we would be living totally interfaced with physicality, with the dark side. Not the dark side. We haven't gotten to the dark side, but we'd be interfaced with physicality, which is made of the darkness, and live the world of light in the dark side. Sorry, I keep saying the dark side. In the darkness, not the dark side. We don't live in the dark side. I'm about to go into the dark side, okay? That we will live the light in the darkness. That's the challenge. Can you be a master of light? And let me explain and go further and listen to this. Who was the first monotheist in the history? Who was the first most famous monotheist? Huh? Abraham. Abraham was the first monotheist. Slicha. Noah, 10 years earlier, 10 generations earlier. Slicha. Noah, 10 generations earlier, wasn't a monotheist? Adam wasn't a monotheist? For sure he was. For sure he is. Why is Abraham so famous for being the first monotheist when in fact there were plenty of monotheists before Abraham? And you want to know the answer? You want to hear the answer? Because Abraham was the first Jew. He was the first Jew. Why is he the first Jew? We didn't have a Sinai yet. God has not. He's the father of the Arab world. He's the father ultimately of the Western world, because through him will be Yitzchak, through him will be Esav and the Westerners. Why is Abraham considered even the first Jew? What is it about Abraham?
He rejected false idols.
Very good. You want to know what's crazy about Abraham? Why he's our forefather is because Abraham refused to live in the Himalayas. Because everyone else who had ever been into God before was relegated to the spiritual realm. And Abraham's like, no, I'm just going to live right here with you guys. I'm going to live right here with you. And they're like, listen, Mr. Spirituality, like, you know, go to the ashram, you know, like go hang out with Shem and Aver. Shem, Noah's son Shem was also a very spiritual guy, and he had his own little yeshiva, which is actually up in Tzfat. And go be in Tzfat. And Abraham's like, no.
Why did he choose to stay?
Who, Abraham?
Yeah.
Because he realized God wanted to create a dwelling below.
But Noah also lived in a crazy time.
No.
He also same exact story. He also lived in a time where everybody was completely.
I think Noah was also like very priestly. He was like not interfacing. So, and you see, by the way, he just built the ark without doing anything for anyone. You know, he just built his ark, got on his ark, let's go. Yeah. Whereas Abraham was like all about this world, being involved in this world, to the point where the king Nimrod tried to kill him. because they couldn't deal with him. Anti-Semitism started with Abraham. Get these spiritual people out of my business life, out of my physicality life. I want to do what I want to do, and I don't want anyone to say anything about it. And Abraham comes to rock their world. He wasn't the first spiritual person. There were spiritual people, but spiritual people kept to themselves. They lived outside the realm. You know, people on mushrooms don't like other people hanging around. Okay, they go do their mushrooms, and like only people on mushrooms are allowed in. You know, that's the kind of syndrome I'm talking about. Is like we're doing spirituality. You guys are doing commerce. Our trains aren't crossed. We don't meet. And Abraham says, yeah, we do meet. And then we get a Torah. You know, 6 generations later after Abraham, we get a Torah that's filled with the laws. That's this week's Parsha, Mishpatim. Mishpatim, these are the statutes. Elam, that's this week. Last week was getting the Torah. This week's the laws. These are the laws. What laws? These are the laws of how to be interfaced without getting drowned in it. This is how to live in physicality without getting wiped out by it. So the Torah is actually the instructions of how to navigate the dark side. It's your GPS system. I keep saying the dark side. The Torah is your GPS system for how to navigate the darkness. You don't have the GPS system, fine. Get out of the car and go live in the Himalayas. Wow. But if you have the GPS system, so just stick with the rules. Stick with the rules. See, what have we been thinking? You know what you guys have been thinking probably, maybe not those of you who've been here for a while, but probably a lot of you were thinking that do's and don'ts and do's is Judaism. That's what most people think. And think about family and friends who live like, you know, outside of Israel and stuff. Yeah, do's and don'ts and do's is Judaism to unaffiliated Jews. And it's just do's and don'ts.
Also affiliated Jews, even more so.
Yeah, there's plenty. There's plenty who feel that way as well. Now, all this time, we've been studying the world of darkness. We have not yet discussed the dark side, believe it or not. The dark side's a whole other realm. So listen carefully. The world of there's 4 realms of darkness. Okay? I'm just going to teach you the name of the top realm of darkness. And all 4 are called klipa. Okay, so let's practice some Hebrew. It's called klipa. Try the word klipa. Klipa means like the shell, like this is klipa. Okay? In fact, because the Hebrew is so awesome, you take a noun and you put a mem before it, it becomes the verb of that thing. So, no, not a prefix, but a mem. So, klipa is shell. What do you think the word mikalef means? To peel. Again, mikalef. Klipa is the shell. It's incredible Hebrew. Is you just put a mem before and it's suddenly the verb of dealing with a shell.
The present.
What?
It's the present. Like I'm dealing with it now as opposed to like.
Yeah, but it's turning it verb form. I'm going to peel the apple. It's a peel, but it's also the word peel. English does it too. In this particular word, English works for this. I'm peeling the peel. Right? Peel. The word klipa means shell. Now, look inside this klipa. In there is the fruit. Looks a little weird, but that's the fruit. That's the good stuff. Klipa is the shell that covers up the good stuff. What's inside is called light. That's the fruit. And what covers the light is called the klipa. Okay, everyone try the word klipa? Klipa. Now, there's 4 levels of klipa. And the or in plural, it's called klipot. Try the word klipot. If you're Ashkenazi, you say klipas. Okay. Now, the upper level klipa is called klipas or klipat. I don't know what to do with you guys. We'll stick with the Israeli version for now. It's called klipat noga. Everyone say the word klipat noga.
Klipat noga.
If you add a taf at the end of a word, it becomes a construct state. So the shell of klipat noga. The shell of noga. What does the word noga mean? The word noga means a couple of things, but in this particular case, it means neutral shell. Neutral shell. The world called darkness, this whole world's darkness, because if anything exists, it has to be made of darkness. So the world of darkness is made of klipat noga, and then there's 3 levels of total klipa, like dark. And that's called the dark side. So this side is called klipat noga, and the other side is called the dark side, which is called in Aramaic, in the Zohar, the sitra achra. Okay, so you can practice that word, sitra achra, which means literally the other side. Try that again, sitra achra. Sitra, the dark side, okay? The dark side. Now the dark side's the bad stuff. That's the really, really dark side. What do we mean by the really dark side? So it works like this. This is all light. Oh, you hit physical, you got a sun, you got stars, you got moon, you got the earth. It automatically means you're in the world of klipa. If you have physicality, you're in the klipa. But the external level of klipa, the highest level of klipa, that's still permeable to the light. It's permeable. You can actually get the light into it, is klipas noga. The neutral klipa accepts light. It receives light. It's permeable. Okay? So klipas noga, try that again. Klipat noga. Just say is permeable to the light. Permeable to the light. Now, the three dark side klipas, they have to exist. Only God can sustain it, create and sustain anything, including the totally dark. It gets its light from the klipas noga. It gets its sustenance. It gets its divine flow via klipas noga. Okay? So the three impure klipas they draw their sustenance from the klipas noga. Klipas noga gets its sustenance straight from God, straight down that system. Whereas the klipas, the totally impure darkness, gets its sustenance only through the klipas noga. It itself is opaque. Whereas klipas noga, a good example of klipas noga would be like your fingernails because they're translucent. So that's like klipas noga. Whereas something else would be opaque. It doesn't receive, it can repel out light, but it can't give light. Light can't be extracted from it. It's dark, and it's really the dark side, and you have to avoid the dark side. Dark side's the side of evil. Okay? That's the side of evil. But let's look at it. What it really means is it's the extremity. It's the extremity, meaning if you've already got the light getting veiled, now they're finally physicality, veiled. When you start getting really veiled, now you're on the extreme outer edge of light, otherwise known as total darkness, but obviously there's got to be some light, otherwise it wouldn't exist. So it is the extremities, the extreme furthest from the light. Something that's the extreme furthest from the light would be the coldest place to be. It'd be like the furthest from the campfire, okay? And the 365, back to the 365 negative commandments are to make sure you don't step into the klipa, the totally impure klipas, the three lower klipas, and to keep yourself always in the klipas noga. Can I explain what a klipas noga would be? Klipas noga would be, for example, a slice of pizza. It's klipas noga. Flour, as long as you sift the flour and make sure there are no bugs in it, because flour needs sifting for bugs. So as long as this flour is sifted and all the flour is clean of bugs, because flour is klipas noga. However, bugs are from the dark side. Not that the bugs themselves are from the dark side, but for a Jew to eat the bugs is now the dark side. Bug itself is just a bug, but a Jew eating the bug is the dark side. So when I sift the flour, I'm sifting out the dark side from the flour, so that the flour is klipas noga, totally neutral klipa, nothing evil about it. Then I take tomato sauce from tithed tomatoes. Take the tomato sauce from tithed. You look at any can of tomato sauce in Israel, you'll see it has a hechsher. It says it's kosher. How can you make a tomato not kosher? Answer: don't tithe it. Tithe it, it's kosher. So, and you'll read in the fine print, it'll say it's been tithed from all the ingredients that are for the Kohanim that turn it into kryptonite. So they've separated the kryptonite out of it. Okay, it's been tithed. And you put that on the dough, and then you take the cheese, and you shred the cheese. And ideally, the cheese is kosher cheese. Okay? If you're from a Israel, if you're not from Israel, you're allowed to eat Gentile cheese as long as it's kosher. Whereas Jews who live in Israel, either born and raised, or you've been living here long enough and living in more of the Haredi side of town, then you also have to eat cheese that was manufactured in the presence of Jews who keep the Torah. And that's called Halav Yisrael, which means Jewish milk. Whereas someone who lives in America can go ahead and enjoy a Snicker bar, which is very delicious, and I miss them dearly. I miss them dearly, but I've been living here this whole time. And because I've been living here so long and always eating Jewish milk products, so I have to eat like some kind of crazy alternative to the Snickers bar, but nothing's like a Snickers bar.
So you can't have kosher cheddar cheese?
That's not Chalav Yisrael? No, you can, I can't. Yeah, but if I really wanted to, I could. You know, I was desperate, I could go to some rabbi and say, hi, I've been living in Israel, I've been eating the Jewish cheese, but I've just got this awesome craving for a Snickers bar, because the truth is cheese isn't going to taste different. It doesn't affect cheese, whether it's in the supervision was Jewish or not, it doesn't affect cheese. So I really want a Snickers bar, and I regret having been so stringent about my milk intake. And then he would say, go ahead, enjoy your Snickers bar. I did it once. I did it once. I didn't do it for a Snickers bar. It wouldn't be worth it for a Snickers bar to go do that. I wouldn't do that for a Snickers bar. However, I was teaching at UCLA for 10 months, where finding Jewish milk was going to be a really difficult thing. And I just wasn't willing to go through that. What's the difference? As long as it's kosher. So I just needed some regular milk, as long as it's kosher milk. I wanted that. So I did ask.
Matters where you live, not where you are.
What?
Matters where you live, not where you are. Meaning, if an Israeli, when he's in America, he should be able to eat.
No, he has to ask. He has to ask. Either 3 Jewish men or a great Torah scholar. He has to just say, I regret having this, and now I'm going to America, and I need to eat regular milk.
But what's the point of that?
By the way, if you're living here for a long period of time, don't forget to eat like a Snickers bar once a month or something. Eat a Hershey bar. Do something. Yeah. See, I never did that. I never did. Yeah. Oh, if you go long enough.
It's been 2 months. I haven't had a Snickers.
2 months isn't too much, but definitely by Friday, have something. Don't make sure you didn't have meat before. Right? No, just if you live here, because you've just been here, just make sure you have some American milk product.
But why? So if I go without it for a certain amount of time, how do
You
I-
teaching today? Nice. Okay. What?
But if I go without it for a certain amount of time, I can't go back to it.
You can, but you just gotta. Before you leave Israel, you'd get together 3 of your friends who all keep Torah, and you'd say, "I regret having taken on this thing."
But why? I don't get it. Like, what's the point?
What's the point of what?
Doing that.
Taking it on or taking it off?
If I don't have milk or dairy products from America for a certain amount of time, why do I have to go to religious people to tell them I regret not having it and I want to have it again?
Why? It's a spiritual thing. It's just something about 3 men saying, they say to you 3 times, mutalach, 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 which means it's now permitted to, it's now permitted to, it's now permitted to. And something about that has this effect that whole oath you took by being more stringent. See, when a Jew's more stringent about something, it creates a new level for him. And now you're asking to drop off that level.
But even
You
though
can't
I've
just
been-
jump off levels.
Of course, but even though I've been keeping kosher, keeping kosher has nothing to do with it.
This isn't about kosher. This is a stringency.
Well, what if you didn't do it on purpose?
It's still in. It's still in. If it's a long time.
It's not forbidden.
I know, it's just
Evan's a fisherman. He wants to
complicated.
Yeah. Okay, stop. Everyone stop. Guys, the next rabbi's coming, and I'm going mountain biking. Okay? So let's please be serious about this.
Because you're Rabbi, so you can't pray over yourself, the specific people who you go to when you want to like.
No one's discussing prayer here. No one's discussing prayer. Okay, guys, this is not about prayer, Chaim. I'm not discussing prayer. There's nothing to do with that. It's a spiritual thing of being released. It's talking about being released from vows. You don't release yourself from vows. You go to a court. 3 Jewish men is a court.
Can we go to
Tell him.
the next class?